So what are the benefits of infinite banking? Is there a way to use it that actually works? Why is there all this hype about it? Let's dive in this video right now. Okay, so there's a lot of things on social media, YouTube. If you look around there's a lot of people talking about this infinite banking concept, or IBC, as the Nelson Nash Institute has so labeled it and made it very available. And it's become much a hotter topic on social media. But what are the real benefits of it? Because it seems so complex and convoluted and really confusing that a lot of times people walk away and say, I'm just more confused. What is it really? Is it really good or not? I see a lot of negative stuff. Let's talk about the benefits of it and why they make it so confusing. But I want to do it in a simple way that you can understand. So let's dive into that right now. All right, so let's talk about what infinite banking is, right? Now, infinite banking, the tool, the vehicle that we use is a whole life insurance policy. The reason they call it infinite banking is because banks for so many years have also used these policies for themselves. Many people, even throughout history, everyone from JCPenney to GE to Walt Disney to Ray Kroc with McDonald's have all used this strategy for themselves to build and grow their money. Why? Because in addition to being a death benefit with that whole life insurance, it's like a death benefit, life insurance, right? But it's also got this living benefit of this tax-free high-yield savings account inside of it. Now, when they talk about infinite banking, it's talking about using this tax-free savings account, right? How do we use it in a way that allows us to recapture more interest in dollars? Now, this is the part that gets so confusing because people will say, oh, you can pay yourself back interest and do this and do that. Okay, let's just dumb it down because the truth is there's a lot of myths because they try to simplify it, but they end up doing half-truths or lies about it, and that's not good either. The reality is that the reality is better than a lot of times what they lie to you about. Let's talk about that right now. Here's really 3 benefits I see of a life insurance policy. 1, it's tax-free. We love tax-free, don't we? It's tax-free after you put it in, it grows tax-free, comes out tax-free. The death benefit is also tax-free. 2, there aren't all these limits and rules like you get with IRAs and 401ks. For example, 401ks and IRAs, you have that 59.5 age rule. If you try to access the money before you're 59.5, they charge you with a 10% penalty and taxes. You get slapped with all the extra penalties for touching your own money, which is ridiculous, right? Where you don't have that problem with infinite banking. When you use a whole life insurance policy, that isn't an issue. On top of that, what's also cool is that you can access not just before you're 59.5, but you can also put in more money than even 401ks and IRAs. I have people that put in anywhere from a few $1,000s a year to hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year into their policies. Why? Because they can. Because it's allowed. And again, it's like a Roth IRA, but you don't have all these limitations and rules and everything else that goes with it. And then the third thing, and this is something that's interesting because I was on the Ryan Pineda show, which is a big real estate podcast, and he was saying, hey, I've had infinite bankers come on the show, I'm not buying it. Well, as I went through these benefits, not just about it's tax-free, not just about the fact that yes, there's not all these limits and rules and everything. Oh, not to mention, of course, you make money in 2 places at once, which is another cool thing. But I said, well, it's in most states, it's 100% protected from lawsuits and creditors. At that point, Ryan's like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, his state specifically. I'm like, you could have millions of dollars stored in here and no one can get to that money, even if they win a lawsuit against you. He said, you know what? I've had people on this show several times. No one's ever once mentioned that. That's a big deal. It's kind of a big deal, right? It's a deal. It's awesome. And so I told him, I was like, no, that's one of the greatest benefits. And so that's one of the biggest things with infinite banking, why I store my money there, because I can store a lot of my cash, including the cash that I would normally store in a bank anyways, earning 0.nothing%, and then I get taxed on 0.nothing%. I can store my money here, make 5, 6+% a year tax-free on that money. Huge. And of course, on top of that, that's an added benefit, I get to protect my family, which is great. All right, so why do insurance agents make this so freaking confusing, right? What is it they do? Well, it's because they're trying to sell you on stuff, and it's because, honestly, they don't really design a good policy for you. Understand that insurance agents make their money from the insurance costs that come out of a policy, right? The higher the insurance cost, the more the agent makes because they get paid a commission or a percentage of those insurance costs. That's how the insurance company pays them. You don't pay them out of pocket, the insurance company does. So understand that most insurance guys, this is their livelihood. This is the only way they make money. They're not like myself where they're already financially independent from investing in real estate and doing things like that. No, they're literally banking on, they literally need to survive and pay for their family, pay for Christmas and pay for their birthdays and vacations, everything else, using the money that they earn in these policies. So what will happen is this, and this is why it's confusing. This is why you get a lot of critics out there, because the traditional whole life policy is very expensive. That's the common thing you'll hear, whether it's from Dave Ramsey's mouth, Susie Orman, or anybody else for that matter. They say that whole life is expensive. which is true. If you do the traditional whole life, it's very expensive. Those first 2 years, I'll tell you, that's hard to deal with because you might pay all insurance costs in those first 2 years. The first policy I bought, I was told this. I said, this is just the way they are. You have to just deal with it. And I was putting in $1,000 a month for over 2 years. I put in over $25,000 and I had $0 in that account because it was all going to insurance costs, which in turn paid for the insurance agent. When I confronted him about it, because when I realized you can actually pull different levers as an insurance agent to make the costs cheaper, allowing your cash to grow faster even from day one, I asked him, I confronted him about it, and he said, Chris, I designed it that way because I could not afford to cut my commissions. He was living that life of scarcity, thinking that if he cuts his commissions, there's no way he'll make any money. What he didn't understand was this, is that I had another client, another friend who became a client later on. He asked me about infinite banking. He went to another guy, and this guy said, here's what it's gonna look like. Well, he had paid into it for 6 years. He paid in about over $6,000 a year, and then he said, wait a minute, I only have $18,000? I've paid $37,000 into this to have $18,000 in 6 years. This isn't the same thing that you talk about, Chris. I said, of course not. You used the schmuck. That's what you did. You used a guy that just wanted to charge you high commissions. So yeah, you got ripped off. What's interesting though is that he was only putting in a little over $6,000 a year. When I showed him that, hey, when you put in, say, $50,000, you're gonna have $40,000 there. You put in $10,000, you'll have $8,000 in there. He said, wait a minute, you mean even in the most expensive year, the first year, which is normally $0 that I get in cash because it all goes to fees, only 20% goes to fees and 80% goes to cash, and then the year after that's even less, and the year after that, I'm actually making a gain, a net gain above the insurance costs? I said, yes. He said, well, man, let's do $50,000 a year. And so the ironic thing is I actually made more as an insurance agent than the guy that sold him the crappy policy because he realized he was getting more of a benefit. He was getting a higher return. That's our secret, by the way. That's how we make so much more money, is because we lower those costs as low as we can go, and people want to put more money in because they know they're not getting ripped off in fees. So just understand, that's the number one thing, is it's the agent. So because of that, when you hear them on social media, they're saying, hey, well, the best split is a 60-40 split where you get 60% in cash and 40% in fees, because they'll try to do a little win-win, right? They'll still try to get themselves paid while also taking a little bit more in cost out of you than you should be, maybe double the cost that you should be paying. And they'll say that's the best split, right? That's why they're doing that. They'll also say things like, well, this is a long-term thing. This is tax-free down the road, not short-term. Or they'll say things, such as, well, no, if you use the money, you borrow the money from the insurance company, you actually pay yourself back interest. No, that's a half-truth. They're saying, no, take the money you would have made from the investment, or if you paid off a car with it, for example, whatever you would have paid the bank in monthly payment, pay the insurance company. What they're not telling you is you're actually paying interest to the insurance company. That's one of the biggest myths. You are paying interest to the insurance company. So they are acting as the bank. This is why when I got a 3.99% offer from a bank on my car loan, I got the car loan from the bank instead of getting a 6% loan from my insurance company, because it's all the same. It's still interest that I have to pay. But I went with the one with the lowest interest, while I have used the cash for my policy to go and invest or just store as cash instead. That's the difference. So just understand, it gets confusing because insurance agents have their own self-interest, and they're trying to mask all these fees and everything else to try to let you look at it long-term, or they try to do half-truths and make it seem like it's way better than it actually is, and then people become disappointed. I think that's BS. That's why a lot of times I tell people you need a no BS strategy when it comes to infinite banking. So how do you know you actually have a good policy? Now you might be thinking, okay, is this even any good? Yes, infinite banking is incredible. I love it. I love it way better than using my own bank account. I love to store cash in there. I love to protect my money from lawsuits and creditors. I love that the fact I can make money in two places at once, because I can actually make a spread on my money because they're paying me money even when I'm borrowing it. And that's kind of cool too. And so I love all that stuff. But the only way to know that you're getting a good policy, one that actually is worthy of all that social media and YouTube hype that you hear about, is you have to get the best policy possible. And the way to do that is to make sure that they lower the costs as low as they can possibly go while still keeping it tax-free. The way to do that, of course, that's why we have the Max ROI Infinite Banking strategy that we've used. We use that because we make sure we set up a policy just like we would for ourselves and our family members, we do for our clients. It's always the same every single time. No matter if somebody's putting in a few thousand a year or $1 million a year, we still design it the same way. By the way, I say that because I actually have a friend who he put in $2 million and they gave him a nice discount on the fees. But for his brother, his younger brother who's putting in $10,000 a year, they didn't. Needless to say, his younger brother went with us instead, saved him over $1,000 a year doing the same thing. If you want to be able to compare, the best thing to do is compare the different policies. Look at it apples to apples, doing the same amount of money going in, and see which one gives you the most cash value sooner, that tax-free savings account. Best way to do that with us, reach out to us. Click on the link below here. You can actually book a call to be able to say, can I see these numbers? What does it look like for me in my situation? No commitment, no worries. There's no money coming out of pocket. That's a free consult that we'll do for you. Click on that link below right now.